Good morning, or actually good afternoon, Stitch Roadies. Thank you for stopping by. If you are new to this channel, it is about life and cross stitch. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm very pleased that you've stopped by, and maybe if it's your first time that you might stick around with the whole group here. It is a lovely community. The cross stitch community and crafting and all of that has proven to be absolutely a godsend. So thank you for stopping by. If you choose to stay, please subscribe and hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, and it lets you know next time I'm back. So first, a little business out of the way, because those of you that have been here, you know that this is like it's a little bit confusing in this room. So I want to get the business out of the way first. I have not heard from the winners of the $35 gift card from Fat Quarter Shop or the Blackbird Feathers chart, the two charts. So be sure that you go and check that video. It was somewhat in the last 2 or 3 videos. There's a flyer at the end that posts the name. Whenever we do a giveaway on this channel, I always have G, who does a little bit of editing for me, and he's the one that helps me launch it. He puts a flyer. I give him, when I do a giveaway, I give him the name and what they want, and he puts it in a flyer at the end of the video. And so you would have to check there and see if your name was drawn. And if it was, if you would be so kindly as to email me in the email address in the drop-down box your mailing address or email address if it's a gift card, because Fat Quarter Shop is lovely to work with, and they will directly send you a code for your discount. I never ask for postage or any kind of PIN numbers, nothing like that. So all you have to do is, if you see your name at the end, that you email me directly. And thank you. Thank you for hanging out and participating. I do have another one for this week. It is from the Fat Quarter Shop, and because it's like, I look at the calendar, and although if you look at the thermometer, you wouldn't know that fall is just right around the corner. But when you look at the calendar, how fast it has gone. And so I have this lovely kit donated from the Fat Quarter Shop. Fall is in the air. It is a it's absolutely adorable. Cross-stitch pattern. It includes the fabric, the DMC floss, and a needle minder. And here it is. Is that fox not the cutest thing? Now, I've never seen any foxes in our neck of the woods. I have seen coyote. I heard a bunch of them the other night. And I'm so worried about, there's a flyer posted on the mailboxes in the area for a cat that's missing. And his name is Tofu. So I yelled out the window, Tofu, because it says it answers to his name. I hope the coyotes didn't get him. But if you're interested in this chart and kit, it's all kitted up from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it's So Emma pattern. Just put fox in your comment. Thank you so much. Well, what else has been going on? I have been feverishly working because I'm going to be busy for the next week. And so I've been feverishly working on a couple of things, both in my quilting and in my cross-stitching. I have, if you're at all interested, I do have a quilt channel called Quilt Roadies, and I but predominantly talk about quilting and embroidery and any kind of quilting handwork. I try not to share the same information. Sometimes it happens because my brain can't keep it separated. But I generally try to make the Quilt Roadies channel fresh from the Stitch Roadie channel. So I've been busy with a lot of quilting things, and I had a lovely time at my friend Cheryl, who is one half of Stitching with the Sisterlies. She helped me quilt a quilt that I had made this summer at a retreat I went to with my girlfriends in Sun River. And it was a quilt kit from the Fat Quarter Shop. Blue is my color of the year, and so I was I went to Cheryl's to not only quilt that quilt but to cross stitch, and I just really never got to the cross stitch part because the quilting part was it's like Cheryl has to hold my hand. But that was a lovely visit, and both Cheryl and I we love all things quilting, cross stitching, yeah, all about it, and so does her sister Colleen. But I did get a finish, and by the way, my daughter-in-law loved the owl, the owl by Primitive Hair, and she knew exactly where she was going to hang it. And so I got my second designated stitch done. Now, this is going to be repetitious because some of you have already heard this, but if you're new, what I've been doing this year, and I do believe it has been so successful on so many different levels, to have a designated stitch for in the evening, and then I can stitch whatever I want during the day. My brain wants to go all over the board, you know. Just picture when you go to Disneyland, they tell you how you have to go through the park, you know, go by land, and they give you a map and you move. No, I'm like that kid in the Circle cartoon that shows like this. And so I figured this year in the spring, I started it, that I might be more successful if I, first of all, picked a designated stitch for the evening. And so every evening I stitch on the same thing till it's done. And then I can do whatever I want during the daytime. So that part appeals to the crazy brain in me. And the other part appeals to that little 1% adult brain. I did not realize when I started that how much it would give me peace, and I was proud. I had such positive feelings and success because the progress was being made. So I intend to do that next year too, although this year the designated stitches had to do with presents for gifts stitchy gifts that I wanted to give to my family. And next year, though, is predominantly going to be about me. Now, I know that I'll be stitching some things for presents, but the designated stitch is going to be about me. I have several whips that I mean, the trees are just screaming my name, and I'm going to make that a designated stitch sometime in 2024, so it gets done. Well, I finished the latest one, and here it is. It's Janine McGowan's Forest Home, and Isn't it absolutely lovely? I do have to say that Janine is in my top 10. I pretty much love everything that she does, and I just I'm just stumbling with the words, because this is you know, as much as I complained last time about all those little animals on the trees, I had so much fun when each one appeared. And I could get about 2.5 of them done each evening. So it wasn't like it took a real long time. When I did the deer's face, shall I show it to you again? When I did the deer's face, I fell in love. It's absolutely sweet. And for the first time ever, can I show it to you again? For the first time ever, I put my initials in the year down at the bottom. So this is ready to go off to the framers in time for a September birthday, which I tell you, there is, I have never, it's like, I imagine it's like those people in college, those fellow students of mine who actually studied for the final and walked in with their pen or pencil feeling totally confident, unlike me that was like studying the night before. Yeah, that's the kind of student I was. So what's the next designated stitch? It is The Vintage Grapes by Jeanette Douglas. And I'm going to be doing a portion of this chart. I'm doing this, the bottom half of this chart. And what I discovered when I was kitting it up is that I had purchased a lot of the silks, but I didn't have all of the threads. And now that I'm ready to do it, I started pulling threads, and I was like, holy moly, I have so many kitted up items. I think I need a better system. I think I need not to kit things up. And I think my my cross-stitch journey really got cemented in COVID. And so there was a certain toilet paper mentality to how I was doing things. And that was to kit everything up so that I was at home, and if I had the mood, but now I'm not feeling that same way. And so I'm thinking about figuring out a way to have all of my floss in one place, much like if you go back several videos ago, I did a walkabout in Linda Van Accessible's stitchy room, and she has her floss hanging, and so does Stacy, the 911 stitcher. She has her floss hanging, and I'm thinking that I want to do something like that and not kit things up, not be in a panic about it. Because then I'm always looking for do you do this? Looking for 1 or 2 flosses that you don't have, but then you're digging through your kitted up things? Yeah, there's something crazy about that system, but if it works for you, it works for you. I'm thinking that in 2024, there's a couple of things that I want to do this winter. Okay, backtracking. A couple things that I want to do this winter. One is organize my floss. because currently how I have it is on rings in drawers. And so like I have on one ring, like the DMC, one ring is all the 900s and one ring's all the 700s, and you know, and that might work as hanging. But the specialty flosses, I think I want to do them a little differently. And I use floss away bags. So when I pull the floss, I put them on in a floss away bag on a ring. And here's, look at my Enzo. I've been missing him a lot lately. he was, see, here's what why he was leaning, was he hated the pot man. And every time we drove over the mountain, we stopped in the same place, and the pot man was sitting on the bench. And I would make Enzo go sit so I could take a picture with him and the pot man. And he didn't like the pot man, so he would lean like this. But these, and I'll link below, these floss blings are just, you can either buy them with a seasonal motif on them, or you could send and make a personalized one. Yes. Those floss rings were made by my friend Chris, who stitched this for me. Isn't that so pretty? It's magnetic, and so I have it right there, sticking on the side. Got a frog in my throat. Yeah, so I'm thinking about floss. I don't know what you guys do, but when I was trying to figure out if I had the floss stuck in some other kitted up thing, project, I kind of went, why am I doing that? Why do I not have the floss all in one place and I can pull it? And if I don't have it, I can, I can go to the LNS, which Acorns and Threads is my LNS, or you could actually order it. And but I still have toilet paper mentality. And you know what I'm talking about. Toilet paper mentality. Yeah, so the vintage grapes are going to be my next designated stitch. And I'm doing it, I have absolutely no idea the fabric. But it's beautiful. It's kind of, I'm thinking it's fox and rabbit, and I got it stored in my Cory bag. Crafty Cory Stitches. This bag I got at Acorns and Threads. Isn't it lovely? Absolutely lovely. So that is the beginning of the next designated stitch. I also bought this. I'm not going to start this right away, but it's definitely going to be a sooner than later start. And it's on this lovely fabric that I got by Fox and Rabbit, 32 count, called Up in the Attic, that Acorns and Threads had. Isn't that lovely? And this is what's going to be stitched on it. I bought the threads that I didn't have. I just knew I probably didn't have these colors. So, look at that. Look at that little crab. Isn't he adorable? He's so cute. So I got that. I already told you about my friend Sandy from BC. I'm looking up this way because I have my crow calendar hanging off the side of my design wall. And on August 30th is the full blue moon. Every month on that crow calendar it tells me what the full moon is called, and sometimes it's fun to just try to find a project that fits that bill, whether it be a whip or a new, and start one. But the full blue moon is on the 30th, and I thought, since this year's color for me was blue, and I've been asked, why do you pick a color of the year? And I don't know. I don't know why I do. I don't know why I do half the things I do, but I do them. And much to the chagrin of my parents. And so I just pick a color every year. And it's not that I do everything in that color. It's that I tap into that color more than I would have before. And blue is not one of my favorite colors. I like it, but it's just not my favorite. And so blue was the color that popped into my head January 1st. So I have a blue project in a kind of blue bag, bee bag. And my friend Marcia passed the stash on to me of this chart. She did this, and I just fell in love with it on a Zoom. I was just like, I'm in love with that. So she was kind enough to pass the stash, and this is my Winter's Peace sampler by Artful Offerings. And I have it all kitted and ready to start on the 30th of this month. I've got my Breathe. See, breathe was my word for the year. And all my blue threads. Excited about that one. I am not very good at Sal's stitch-alongs. I am like Lady Robin S., which is a friend and floss tuber who calls them start-alongs. I'm totally a start-along. Yeah. And when I get a finish, it's a celebration. Anything else that I wanted to show you? I'm just trying to think. I've been so distracted by the news lately. Living in the state of Oregon, and especially in the forest of Oregon for 40 plus years, fire is our natural disaster. Like you hear about the hurricanes and the tornadoes everywhere. For us, it's fire. And the news about Maui it just clenched at your heart. The stories, I just can't even imagine. And I have, I've come in my teen years, my family became a sailing family. And so I have spent a lot of time on the ocean. And my mother and I sailed to Maui once, and I walked all around Lahaina and saw all those places that in the news just were devastating to see a whole community gone. And when I would see a picture, I would remember walking down that street. And then Greg and I, G and I, when we went to, we took a trip to Maui. When they named a restaurant that we ate at that burned to the ground, or an art gallery, there's nothing you can say that can make that pain go away for those people. And I can't imagine the heat that would melt boats. I can't even, that are floating in the ocean. I just can't imagine that. And so now, you know, we're getting ready here to next month go on a camping trip, and it's in an area that we've had to cancel before because of forest fire. So the whole, my heart just cries for all of those that have lost so much. Yeah, so I have to do things. I don't know about you, but I have to do things that, just little things that make me feel better about humanity and myself. I don't know. I'm babbling now. Aren't I babbling now? But the news lately has just been... And we say that every time, don't we? We say, oh my gosh, don't watch the news. Don't watch the news. But we can't stop watching the news. It's, yeah. Well, in September, fall is a really great time for us to go camping. So we've got a lot of camping ahead of us. And we're really looking forward to it. We get to meet some friends, meet up for a camping meetup, which is really great. And I'll take stitching along and maybe make some headway on stuff. But one of the exciting things, and you can join us if you want, is Janine, who owns Acorns and Threads. We are going to do a start-along. A start-along in September of a Hawk Run Hollow. It can be any Hawk Run Hollow you want, but I had the Autumn at a Hawk Run Hollow kitted up. And this is the thing though, we're not doing the whole thing. No, we saw a Hawk Run Hollow done in the form of a box. So you need like at least 4. And if you want it to be like a pincushion, maybe you don't want to go through your stitching, so you make the top and the bottom a different fabric. But so I'm going to pick out 4 squares from my Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, and I've picked out 2 Halloween and the 2 Thanksgiving ones. So it's going to be a cube. I said square. You're going square? Square. No, it's going to be a cube. So each side will have those 4, and then I will have a plain or fabric top and bottom. So it could be like a pin cushion, like a drum, a square drum. That makes no sense, does it? But I know you know what I'm talking about. And so this way, if I do these 2 Halloweens, no, these 2 Halloweens, these 2 Thanksgivings, yeah, then on a shelf, I could turn it and you'd see the Thanksgiving or the Halloween, and then the next month I could turn it and you could see. I know. Sometimes I amaze myself. So that's what I'm doing for this start along of the Autumn at Hawk Run Halls, and I got this at Acorns and Threads. But you could do, there's several other in the stitch group at Acorns and Threads that are doing different Hawk Run Hollows. One of our fellow stitchers says she's so done with fall stitching. She doesn't want to do it anymore. So I think that might be the end of the show and tell part. Yeah. I'm reading a book that has opened my eyes in a lot of ways. Now you would think, being a nurse, that I would have a lot more background in some of this stuff, but nursing is very specialized, and I follow this nurse on Instagram, and she wrote a book, and so I requested the book from the library, and there was already a queue, but it finally came up. And the book is by Hadley Vallos, and it's called The In-Between. Now, she's a hospice nurse, and she talks about all the different experiences she's had and how very common or frequent the same experience would be, in such a lovely way that I've been enjoying the book, and I would recommend that book for everyone to read. Yeah, it reminds me, you know, how interesting life, you know, we think life is so random, but in some ways it's not, you know, because I had a friend, I know I've probably told you this before, sometimes I can't remember if I've told you a story or not, but I had a girlfriend, someone I worked with, who ultimately had a terminal illness, and she was someone who I was very close to, because I was a chubby middle-aged woman and decided I wanted to be a runner, and I started running. I mean, the first time I would go up to the junior high and I would walk. I started out walking the track 4 times, which was a mile. And then I started running, and then she was a runner. She was a tall, lean runner, and she started helping me, giving me tips. She'd go with me out to a local forest park, and we would run together. And I had a goal, because I always have my goal list of things that you would think would be impossible to accomplish, but there's something about the intention of writing something down for me that makes me, like, really motivated. And I had a goal of running a marathon. Oh my gosh, I know. Some people were thinking, really? But with the help of my friend, I kept running. And I ran, and I ran. And sometimes I'd be running around town, and people would honk their horns and give me a high five, and yeah, because they knew I was working it, you know. And so when she ended up at hospice, I was like, I can't go there. I can't go there, because I will make life, what little life she has left, harder, because I will be blubbering the entire time. But as miracles happen, and that's what's so interesting, is that we all have this, no matter what you believe, we all are cemented in our beliefs, but in reality, we really don't know. And we had friends visiting us from out of town, and he was a hospice social worker. I'm longtime friends, and this was just one of many things that he did. And I had told him that I got a phone call from this friend who just went into hospice, and I decided, you know, that I couldn't go because it would be too hard, and I'm not sure I would not make everything worse for her, because I'd be crying. And he looked at me and he goes, "It'll be okay. You need to go." And in that moment, I said, "Okay, well, I'll see you later then." And so G entertained them while I left. And when I arrived, she was sitting up eating a popsicle, and her husband was there. And she was so beautiful. So beautiful. And the next day she passed. And I often wonder about that miracle of my friend arriving at that time that I was struggling to not go. I had convinced myself to not go, and I went, and it sits in this little part of my heart that knows that there's things we don't know and that there's miracles all around us. And so this book, The In-Between, gives you stories like that. And it's a great book. I recommend it. That's all I can say. As far as movies or TV shows go, I have resorted to my standbys. I found that there's a season 10 of Father Brown, so we're into the Britcoms again. Death in Paradise, Father Brown, you know, I can stitch and watch and listen, and it's a comforting TV. Comforting TV. Yeah. So that's it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you feel like you want to hang around, please subscribe. I surely do appreciate it. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to do my little floss tube thing. What floss tubes? I know. I'm so bad at that, but I'm getting better. See, I remembered before I turned it off. So what floss tubes did I watch this week? Well, it's been crazy busy, and we actually took our grandson yesterday to the zoo. Crazy on a Saturday. Crazy, crazy. But, so I haven't had a lot of floss tube viewing time. But this week I watched The Frozen Crafter, and she is lovely. I met her back when I was first going to Acorns and Threads, and she had just moved from Alaska down to Washington and had taken the train to Portland, and I picked her up at the train station, and we went to Acorns and Threads, and then we met at one of the retreats through Acorns and Threads. Just lovely. Lovely. And she's part of that whole Washington group, Cross Stitchers, so I watched her. And then, you know, if you gotta have a laugh, and you're gonna have a lot of them, you gotta watch Stitchy Witch 42. And she made this journal this week that I was like drooling over, literally drooling over. It, you know, journaling is like, there's a miracle every page. You know, it's awesome. And then lovely, lovely Lori from Textilist. She is always got things going on. Just a lovely, sweet personality and a lot to show. So that's where I was this week. Okay, all done. You take care. You know I love you. See you next time.